Where's Fielder? He's gone to the dogs.
Welcome once again to the Gone to the Dogs podcast. This is Steve Fielder coming at you one more time through the miracle of Al Gore's internet. And man, do I have a great show for you today. I've got rounded up a couple of guys that I've wanted to talk to here on the podcast for a long time. And we'll get into all that in just a minute. Before we do, I want to just take a brief second to thank our sponsors, the W Hunting Supply Group out in Washington State and in Oregon, Buddy Woodbury, Jason Doobie, those guys with W Hunting Supply. They have virtually anything you need for your dogs or for your own use. They have some great clothing items, T-shirts, hats. Give them a look there online at WHuntingsupply.com, or it may come up easier with just DUsupply.com. I also want to mention real briefly that we're still doing these weekly spins on Facebook for the Zepp Lifetime Coon Squaller. My good friend Mark Zepp builds this squaller, or has it built. It's an all-metal squaller. It has 3 reeds and a nice lanyard. It's a lifetime design. I've had one for several years, and they work great. But anyway, we're giving away one of those every week on a Wheel of Name spin that we do, kind of a raffle type thing. And there's a question of the week, and it's posted on my Facebook page, Stephen F. Fielder. You can see the question of the week on there. Answer it correctly. You send your answer by private message. We'll put your name on the wheel, and when we spin it, if your name comes up, you win it. You win the squaller, you win a sticker, a Gone to the Dogs sticker for your truck or your dog box. You also win a nice lanyard from W Hunting Supply. So anyway, that's all the commercials I've got. The bills are paid, and I want to get to talking to these boys. Now, this last week, this prior episode, went down to the state of Alabama via the telephone and talked with Clint Chase. Clint was a great guest for us. We've gotten really good reviews on Clint's podcast with us. Want to thank him again for that. And in that podcast, he mentions one of our guests today, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. But I've known these fellows for a long time. In fact, one of them was just very small when I first met him, and then, of course, I met his dad. Probably met Jamie through our mutual friend Mike Harrell. But anyway, I want to set that up in just a second here, but I want to introduce to my audience Jamie Perrin and his son Trey Perrin. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing good, man. It won't be long till we'll be back at the White River, kicking back, telling lies.
Sounds great.
Treeing a few
Ready for some cool weather.
Chasing old Buster all over 40 acres.
Oh, yeah, and there's more than 40 acres.
I tell you what, that dog took me places I'd never been in the White River.
Oh,
Yeah, he will do that regularly.
He'll introduce you to new territory, won't he?
Yes, sir.
Well, guys, it's great to have you on. And as I mentioned there, Clint Chase in his podcast talked about a situation where he had a dog that got killed, got hurt, injured, whatever, and died. And Jamie, he mentioned the fact that you let him have a female named Little Bit. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he was very, very thankful for that, and it got me thinking. I said, man, I need to get Jamie and Trey on here. We haven't talked to them, and so just kind of want to get into things with you. And Jamie, since you're the elder of this pair, You've still got a full head of hair. I'm kind of envious of that, although it is kind
It's
of
all
turning
gray,
white. But
And thin.
and thin.
It's thinning a little bit. Yeah, it's thinning a little bit.
Well, you don't know what that's all about. That started for me when I was about 23. Let's, for the record, Trey, how old are you?
I'm 31.
31, just a kid, man. Let's see, I got you about 45 years. Think about that. 45 years. Well, Jamie, I was trying to think back before we got the mic turned on here today when we met, but I'm going to say it was probably at Black and Tan Days, but it could have been when I went to PKC. Do you remember?
It was either Black and 10 Days. No, you were still with UKC. Was it the Black and 10 Days or
Yes.
maybe
Yeah.
Autumn Oaks, UKC World Hunt, something of that nature?
One of those, I'm sure. And, we talked last week in the episode with Clint about how important relationships are and how the friends that we make in coon hunting really are the most important part. The dogs are great. The hunts are great. All that goes with it. But it's really the people that we meet and all. And I know about the time that I met you, Jamie, you had a friend there in Flora, Illinois, Mike Harrell, and you and Mike were partners on a dog. And I want to talk about that for sure. I want to talk about
Yes, sir.
Ann and let you tell the listeners about her. She was, as the old saying, all that in a bag of chips back in the day when she was hunting the hunts. But let's go back to Jamie Perrin's experience in coon hunting. When did that start for you, Jamie?
My dad was a coon hunter, and I started real young. He would take me every once in a while when I was probably about 5 years old, I'd say.
Wasn't that about the age you started taking Trey?
No, he was way sooner than that. He was in diapers. I had to take the diaper bag with me when I was carrying him.
Well, that's great. Well, you mentioned earlier you do have another son, but like
Yes, sir.
my son, I guess, he hasn't followed in that coon hunting.
No, Cody missed the
tradition.
bullet. Yeah, he dodged it.
He dodged that coon hunting bullet. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, it's you and your wife, and you operate a business there just outside of Birmingham, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, is that mailing address there where your business is that Chelsea or is that Birmingham?
No, that's a Birmingham address.
Okay, I thought so. Right there on Highway 280, right in the thick of things.
Yep, it's just rural Shelby County, but it's still Birmingham address. But it ain't much rural anymore.
No, for sure. Just in my experience of going to Nubbins and traveling through there, now for several years, I see it growing right before my eyes.
Oh, yes.
Tell the listeners a little bit about your business. What do you do there?
Well, my dad's bought a country convenience store that was really, really in the boonies about 1959.
Mm-hmm.
And when he started, he had $200, and his dad had his own business. My granddad had beer joint, for lack of a better term.
That's what we called them back in West Virginia. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. And he told my dad whenever he bought this store, he had $200. He said, "You'll never make a go at it, Jim." And my dad did. He fixed flats and, full service gas station and, anything he could do to make a dollar, to make ends meet and all, and worked very, very hard and, made a go of it.
Well, for sure. And, I look at there where your business is, and it's got to be an absolute prime piece of real estate there, right on the main highway there coming from Chelsea into Birmingham, and just a bustling area for sure. And, so then as time went on, then you stepped into the ownership of the business, I guess.
Yes, sir. I started working there when I was 7. I had to uh, sit on my knees on a stool to reach the register. And so I've been working there 52 years. But, my dad had the forethought, to see that we had to expand and, get into something different. And we got into the landscape supply business, which was, all his idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to say probably around 1980 plus or minus a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Right along in there, and if we hadn't diversified, we couldn't have stayed there. But it's been very very good to us. We worked very hard, but it's been very good to us.
Well, the harder you work, the luckier you get, right?
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
For sure. Well, Jamie, I don't want to blow your head up too big here on this podcast, but I also do want to thank you how generous and accommodating you've always been to me and to Nubbin. And oh man, I could just write a whole big list of things. Usually, I hate to say this because other people will be showing up on your door expecting the same, but never go by there, folks, that I don't leave with more than I came with, and it's usually something really good to eat. But also, Nubbin and I have been blessed by using your four-wheelers or your side-by-sides a couple different times at the White River. And I know Philip Herron over there at Marianna, Arkansas, with the Black and Tan reunion, really appreciate you because every year you're over there cooking and doing all that. Talk about that just a little bit.
Well, very fortunate. Mr. Philip Perrin has become a great friend for many, many years. The reunion was kind of fizzling out at White River a little bit. And, as far as the, people putting it on, and Philip started having the reunion at Marianna, Arkansas, at a Methodist youth camp that we rent that's on Bear Creek Lake. And it's just a beautiful place, and it has a bunch of cabins. It'll probably, I'd say it would easily sleep 50 people probably, maybe 60, and it has a big commercial kitchen. And the church owns it, and they've been very, very good to us over the years. We've probably been going there, I'd say close to 30 years. Boy, time gets away.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Gets away.
Now, your friend there, Mr. Duke, has been a
Yes,
help
sir.
to you there as well.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes. Big help. He hauls for us. He has his own dump truck, but, he's a lifelong friend. My dad and his dad were, great friends through the years. And, we kind of grew up together. Ricky's a little older than me, but, we've known each other all our life. And, he loves to go to the reunion and help cook and all, and, off to the hunts and stuff and all. And he's not as much into coon hunting now, but he's really into squirrel hunting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there again, one day were able to come down to the hunting camp where you and Ricky were there, and you guys were doing some squirrel hunting that day, I think. And Nubbin and I I think Durkee was with us. I think Keith Durkee, maybe. Or
Jerry
no?
Hanna was with y'all. I'm not sure if Durkee was there.
No, who
Durkee
was
may
it?
have been there also. Jerry Hanna was there.
Yeah. Jerry. That's
Durkee may have been also. I'm not sure.
No, I think you're right, for sure. Well, that it's in this game of life. The more we give, the more we receive. It seems like, and I know you've been a giver, Jamie, and it shows, and I know the people appreciate it. I can remember Nubbin telling me about one time where the group from his church, I think, went over to that youth camp and put a deck or something on that.
Yes, they put a back deck on there, a really nice back deck.
Well, I was privileged to go over there. I think I've been there twice, but maybe just once.
Sir.
Yeah. And
I think you've been there twice.
And really, really enjoyed it. That Black and Tan reunion, it's by invitation. So you got to be a pretty good guy to get an invitation. I don't know how Nubbin and I got in on it.
Yeah, well, I want everybody to know I think the world of Nubbin. He's like my second dad. He's taught me a lot, not just hunting wise, but just in life itself.
There's none finer. I enjoy his friendship so very much, and Clint and I talked
Yes, sir.
about that last week. So I don't want to swell old Nubbin's head up too big.
Oh no, he's a good one for sure.
He is absolutely. As we used to say back home, and I don't know where the saying came from. It's somebody's all wool and a yard wide. Well, that's him. He's a good one. Well, Trey,
Yes, sir.
we haven't let you talk much, and we're going to get back to your dad here in just a second. But Trey, I want to talk to you a little bit about how did this coon hunting bug hit you? You just ever since you can remember, or what?
Yes, sir, pretty much. I just remember, my dad hauling me around with him, and I don't even know if I could walk when he started carrying me. My mom was always worried about me going off with him, but I didn't want it any other way.
Yeah. Well, I can remember, and I've kidded you about this before, at Black and Tan Days, or maybe it was at Autumn Oaks, or it might have been, I think a little later on, maybe at Aurora. But this fellow with the high-pitched voice, you could hear him all over the clubhouse. And he was little, but he was loud, and he was right in the middle of everything that was going on. He might have been young, but he had a grip on it. You were handling a dog, you were hunting, you were doing. When did you first handle a dog in a hunt, Trey?
Gosh, I really don't know. I mean, I would have probably been 6 or 7 years old, maybe. I mean, I was very small, very young.
Yep, I remember that so very well. And as you get older like me, the memories become all that more important because that's about all you got.
Yeah.
You're not out there making new ones at a very rapid clip, that's for sure. But, gee, there's so many things I want to talk to you all about. But, Jamie, I want to talk to you a little bit about your coon hunting experience and then how you settled in. And I know that you don't just hunt black and tan dogs, but you've been pretty well known for your black dogs. And I think probably down deep, that's probably still your favorite breed. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but
No, sir.
when did that all
breed.
start for you?
Well, my dad hunted black and tan dogs, and that's just how I got started. And he had a good friend, Dr. Bob Porter, that hunted black and tans, and just fell into it and just learned to love the breed and all, and just been fortunate. I've had some very good ones, and I've had some not so good ones. But that's my breed of preference. I'm hunting a darn old Walker dog now, but I would sure love to have me a good black one again.
Oh, I'm sure, and I can remember hunting with some good ones that you had. I did not get to hunt with the Ann female. Tell us about. A lot of people will remember, especially in PKC, you and Mike Harrell, and did you call her Ann or Annie?
He called her Ann. I called her Annie.
Yeah. Tell us about her and that relationship with Mike and so forth.
Well, it started a friend of ours, Chuck West from Tennessee. He's since passed away, but he was a great friend and a great friend of Mike's. And he'd been up with Mike's. He'd go at least once or twice a year and hunt for a week with Mike. And he told me, he said, that's the best thing I ever hunted with. Mike said that's the best he's ever had. And I agree with him. Boy, she's a dandy. And he's telling me, he said, boy, you ought to see if you get Mike to sell her. And so I pursued it. Mike said he would. And he priced her. And we were at Autumn Oaks. I had hunted the night before and was going to hunt a different dog the next night. Back then, you could only hunt, one dog one night.
Right.
And Mike had hunted the night before and won his cast, but just had like a low score. So Mike and I went out together, check Annie out, and she looked terrible. she looked terrible. So I didn't buy her. And just a couple of weeks later, Chuck and I were at the zones, and we got beat as usual. And he said, I'm telling you, I don't care what she done that night. That's the one, I'm telling you. So when I got home, I called Mike again, and he said, yeah, he'd tell her. Well, the next day he called back and he said, well, I had a pretty decent little hunt, last night and all, but said, I just didn't sleep none. He said, I told you I'd tell her, and I will tell her. I'm a man of my word. But he said, boy, I wish I hadn't never told you that. Said, I just really don't want to tell her, but, like I said, I will. And I said, well, hey, ain't no problem. No problem. I said, have you ever thought about selling half of her? And I'd never owned half of a dog with anybody other than my dad.
Right. And
he said, I don't know. Let me think on that. And Mike and I had known each other for 20 years prior to that, probably. Mm-hmm. 15, 20 at least. And they'd hunted together. I'd go up early at Black and 10 Days, which was at their club a lot. And we hunted a good bit together. And he called me back an hour or two later and said, yeah, he guess he'd sell me half of her, but I had to come up and hunt with her. And I said, Mike, we're really busy. I'm just going to send you a check. Mm-hmm. And my dad advised against it. He was totally against it. But I sent Mike a check for half. And we never had a crossword. I mean, he kept her and hunted her part of the time, and when he would be busy, I'd have her down here hunting her and vice versa. And when it get too rough up there to hunt, I'd have her. Just never had a crossword.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
worked
perfect.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, as many listeners, especially around Flora and in the Black and Tan breed and so forth and PKC, know that Mike passed away. And he really, it was a tragedy because he was still a young man when he passed.
Yes.
How old was Mike when he died?
I want to say Mike was 48.
Yeah.
49 maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say that he was a young man. And, we had a lot of good dogs together off of Annie and dogs we had bought and stuff. And, I want everybody to know that he was a coon hunter of the bunch. Now, he was the dog trainer. He was good with them young dogs and old dogs. And, he made Annie what she was and the rest of them too, because, he was a real coon hunter and a woodsman and a great guy. But they had a little community breakfast house most of the farmers ate at, about every morning before they get started working. And they wasn't many mornings went by that, somebody would say, Mike, you got a dog treat east of my barn or west of my pond or south of my house or whatever, and that'd be 6 o'clock in the morning. And, at his house, they got to see the sun come up just nearly every morning.
Well, I remember Mike because he was a good friend with one of my friends, was Mr. Everett Weems there from Salem, Illinois.
Yes, sir.
The plot man, and plot people will remember Everett very, very well. He is probably the most recognized plot breeder in the history of that breed, and had more dogs in the Hall of Fame. And he and my dad had a lot in common, and they were the same age, and they got together and did some breeding and all that. So we really loved Everett, and Mike would be as Everett got up in age, Mike would keep me informed about how Everett was doing and all.
Oh, yes. He and Everett was tight.
Yeah, they really were. And, while we're on this subject of people and all, thanks to you and Trey, we got the invite to go up at the PKC World Hunt here about 3 years ago and stay with Mike's mom and dad, Ed and Wanda Harrell, and what a wonderful time I had up there. And I got to go out with Ed, who was at that time in his 80s. I don't know. How old is Ed right now? Do you know?
86, I think.
86. Well, he would, we were hunting this Walker dog, my buddy Mac and I, and Mac would be out on the early round. Well, then Ed was guiding 2 rounds every night of the World Hunt out of Flora. They'd send the cast over. So I said, well, I'll just go with you, Ed, and sit in the truck. And we had a lot of good conversations, and we had some good naps, too.
Oh, yes, sir. He loves it.
Oh, yeah, what sweet people they are. So,
Oh, yeah, they're family.
Yeah, I see that for sure, and they think the world of you. Well,
oh, we think the world of them.
Yeah, for sure. These are the kind of people that will, leave really big holes one day when they're no longer around, because they just make such an impact on us. Well, so that our listeners will know and all, and then we'll talk about Annie some, but we mentioned that Mike had passed away. He had, was it an aneurysm or something like that, wasn't it?
No, stroke.
No? A stroke, okay.
Yep. He had one bad one, and then he had another one several months later. He never did really recover 100% by any means, but, he got better. And then he had another really bad one at the World Hunt in Aurora, Kentucky.
Well, it just
He wasn't at the World Hunt. What?
It was a breeder showcase.
Trey thinks it's a breeder showcase, but anyway, it was a big hunt at Aurora, and they carried him to hospital up there, and then they flew him to Nashville and to the Vanderbilt Hospital, and just never recovered.
Yeah, it was a sad day for all of us, for sure. Well, this Annie female that you and Mike owned together, what was her breeding, Jamie?
She was out of 2 registered dogs. Her dad was out of Fiddler.
Tam Young's Fiddler dog.
Yes. And her mom was out of Big Time Albert breeding.
Okay. Gene Hicks stuff. That dog originally came from Dr. Porter, didn't he?
No, he came from a great friend of ours, Doug Cox, that handled
Doug Cox, that's right.
Doug raised and trained Albert, who was almost 2 years old, and decided to sell him. He would get one up and going and doing real good and sell them. And he was good with them, good with young dogs. And I had a dog named Broadway Joe about the same age at that time, or I would have bought Big Time Albert. Big Time Albert was really nice, and both of them were, comparable. But Gene came down, and Nathan Thornhill was telling Gene about him, and Nathan came with Gene, and it was a horrible night, rain and thunder and lightning. I don't think they ever made a tree, and Doug said, well, good, he ain't going to buy my dog, and darn if Gene didn't buy him.
Yeah, Gene, that's another legend that's getting up in age, and has made a tremendous impact. Gene Hicks and I first met when I was a field rep back in about 1978. And he was up at Rogersville, Tennessee, at an RQE showing an old dog called Thunder Mountain Mingo, a long-eared black and tan.
Yes, I remember seeing all kind of pictures of Mingo.
He was a beautiful hound. You didn't.
Oh, yes.
You weren't accustomed to seeing those real long-eared dogs, back at that time. But he was put together the way a hound should be. And that friendship with Gene, has lasted through the years for me, too. And we've had so many great conversations. And he was high on those Albert dogs now.
Oh, yes, sir.
For sure.
Yes, sir. And I'll say this, Two Time was an outstanding hound.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was probably his favorite, out of Big Time Albert, and he was really a good hound.
2-time Albert.
Yeah.
That was an unusual name for a dog. Well, Trey, you've heard these stories, I know, and we're going to
I've heard them a time or two.
We're going to get to you here in a minute because you've got a lot to say, and I want you to say it. But I want to, before we get off Annie, Jamie, tell the listeners a little bit about this Annie female, what she was like.
Well, she was a really good strike dog, a really good track dog. Had a really good mouth. It wasn't just overpowering, but it carried really, really well. And she could tree a coon 10 yards, 50 yards, 100 yards, or 2 miles, whatever, just whatever it took. When I first got her, we have a really, really big creek we hunt on. And the first night I ever hunted her, she got to that creek and went, the coon crossed the creek, and she went down the creek and back up the creek and down the creek. And I met her when she was coming back, and it was real warm. So I just kind of eased her off in the water. And, that was more water than she'd ever seen in her life. And I thought, Lord, what have I got here? And she came out, I walked her about halfway across it and, give her a little encouragement. She came out on the other side and went left 50, 75 yards, didn't strike it, come back to the right, 30, 40 yards, struck it, and trailed it up on the hillside and treated it and had it. And from then on, she was an excellent water dog. She just had the sense. But she had a lot of good features. But I'd say as good a nose as any hound I've hunted with, and not take all night to do something with those bad tracks.
Right.
And,
accuracy was good too.
Oh yeah, have the coon on the outside. Yeah. And she had something that I guess Mike had kind of instilled in her. I don't know how or why, but say you treat a coon and you cut loose off that tree. If those other dogs went back to that tree, I don't know how or why, but she would tree a coon on them every time, just right there close by. And they'd put them to really, really hurting because, they'd get deleted and she'd have another coon.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed like she toted one in their pocket when they done that.
Yeah. Well, I've had this conversation with some guys, and one of them is Randy Smith up in Pennsylvania, I mention quite often, but talking about these dogs today that get into the next zip code, so to speak, but when they get in there and they tree a coon, then they get into more coons in there, it seems like,
Yes, sir.
And they kind of seek out new territory and pick what's over there, while these other dogs back here don't know what's going on. Trey, maybe you can jump in on that. Do you see that? And Trey, I will tell the audience here that you hunt in several of these pro sport hunts and bigger hunts, you and your dad both, and you've hunted against and with some of the big winning dogs, and you've done some winning yourself. What do you see that in the hunts that you attend?
Yeah, I do. From what I see now, if you go to these big hunts, one thing that sticks out to me is if you make a mistake, you make a slick tree, something like that, in one of these big hunts, you just about out.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to these bigger hunts, dogs treating 2 and 3 coons a cast, they're not making no mistakes.
Yeah, they're not very forgiving, are they? These bigger hunts
you
today.
You take 100 call minus in the wrong direction or get a slick tree. It's not looking in your favor at all.
Well, that's a good lesson, I think. I heard John Wick tell the kids one time. I had a youth event in Tennessee down at, I can't remember the club. I think it was Allen Roberts Club, but and I had John Wick there to talk to the kids, and he said, "Now, when you go out there tonight, kids, don't put undeserved minus points on your dog." And I think that's a good lesson for anybody. And these hunts have changed, and I think the type of dogs that we are hunting nowadays have been probably the reason for the change. But it used to be back in the days when everything packed up, everybody was gunning for that first tree, and that's where a lot of guys made a mistake, pulling the trigger too quick. It's not quite that way now, is it?
No, sir, it's not.
Well, Jamie, Anne, what were some of her biggest accomplishments when you and Mike had her?
She won, I think, second Grand Night champion at Black in 10 Days when she had just turned 3, and she won first. She won second on Friday night and first on Saturday night, and she won Grand Night champion of the breed of Winter Classic time or two, I think, and she won third in the AKC World Hunt, second in the PKC Nationals.
This is a Black and Tan, guys. Listen to
Alabama State Hall of Fame. 1 year she would have won the state hunt at Alabama, but my dad was sick, so we didn't go Friday night. And Yankee Ryan, a good friend of ours that hunted dogs for us, was supposed to hunt her Friday night. Back then, you had to hunt both nights to be eligible. They didn't combine your scores. You had to hunt both nights for the dog to be eligible. Well, Trey drew 3 Purina Point guys that night, and she had 900 on 4, and would have been the state champion. And he was like 8 years old, and she's the same age as him. So, and one particular time, he had 225 on coon, and then first strike on the next one, and the other dogs ran out there and treed just a little ways, and the judge asked him 2 or 3 times. He said, "Son, why don't you tree your dog where we can go on?" And he wasted time. He said, "Mr. Judge, Annie's just a little past them. I don't think she's with them, and she's trading. She's not treed." A minute or so later, he'd ask him the same thing. He said, "No, sir, she's not treed." And then a few seconds later, she got treed. And he said, "Mr. Judge," he said, "I want to treat Annie, and I'm not sure, but she may not be with y'all's dogs." And she was just like 100 yards past them. And they were slick, and she had the coon. But, he knew her as good as me or Mike knew her.
There you go. And 8 years old.
8 years old.
Is that the truth, Trey?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I hunted with her a lot.
That's awesome.
She if I pulled up short, that's one thing she was going to go on.
Yeah.
She didn't make a slick tree. She wasn't perfect, but, if she wasn't going to trade with them just because they were treed.
Well, isn't it great, though? I know you've got to feel this way. I'm going to put you on the spot, but isn't it great to know that you have those memories of hunting with her?
It is. I mean, I'm kind of have to do it backwards in the way most people. I started out with the best dog that I'll ever have to hunt, She's my measuring stick, and, I mean, I was just a kid then, but, I mean, I know that I ain't had nothing that was as good as her since then and probably won't.
Well, they say that, you have that dog of a lifetime, and I don't know. If I'm going to get mine, I better get it pretty quick.
You've had a lot of good ones.
Well, I've had some that were decent, but not on the big stage like that. But everybody associated Annie with you and Mike Harrell, the two of you together, and she was well recognized as being a big winner. And I was kind of in the thick of things back in those days from a different perspective, but I watched her, her name came up a lot, and she got her picture taken a lot, and she was a great one. Well,
but let me mention something else.
Sure. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
She, her first PKC hunt Mike ever hunted her in was Walker Days.
Okay.
And Thursday night, she was high-scoring dog early, and Mike and I would make them hunt it off because from 2 o'clock to daylight, when she's in her prime, she just couldn't hardly be beat. Well, he won all their money, Calcutta and added and everything, Thursday night. About $2,500, best I remember, which was a lot of money back then.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Friday night, the same thing. High scoring early, made them hunt, won all their money. Well, let's see. Let me back up. Cracker was in on Friday night.
Silver Dollar Cracker.
He was all-time money-winning dog. And it was about an hour and a half from Mike's house. down around Ren Lake where Dave Juvers was from.
Right.
And Mike, it was raining and storming and all, and Mike made them hunt Friday night. Well, some of the big time guys was around, Walker guys and all was around, and some of them told me later, said they asked Juvers who was going to win. He said that little farm boy there with that black and tan bitch is the best thing in this country. Said she's going to go through him like a dose of crotonol. He said, what do you mean? He said, crackers in that cast. He said, boys, I'm telling you, they don't have a prayer. Well, Annie had 600 on 3, and they made a sachet by the truck, and Cracker and 2 more was underneath the truck. It thunder and lightning and raining, and they split second, third, and fourth. Well, Saturday night rolled around. Annie was high-scoring dog early. It was going to take them hunting, but our good friend Steve Gamble was in the cast and had a really nice female. What was his female's name? Boy, she was a good one.
Sally?
Sally.
Yeah.
Yep, Sally. Well, she was about to come in heat, and there was a male dog that was on 3 legs. He'd been in a fight, and Stephen talked Mike in the split. So they split that night, but we got about, between the two of us, we got about 6,500 or so that weekend, that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
That's going into the enemy camp, into Walker days.
That's for sure. They asked Jubers, how come he didn't own her if she's so good? And he said, because I don't have enough money.
The late Dave Juvers, what a character he was, and the sport will miss him for sure.
Oh, yes.
Well, there's so many memories, so many great stories. And, hey, man, the old saying is, I think they attributed that maybe to Yogi Bear, or maybe he said, it ain't bragging if you can do it.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Hey, you take a black dog and go into Walker Days and make that kind of splash. You've done something. You can talk about it, and nobody will accuse you of bragging on that for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you had that. How old did Annie live to be, and what happened to her?
She died at about 10 and a half. She, we still hunt her fairly regular and just let her run loose here in the yard. And we live on a little road, and she'd go across the street, and neighbor's got a trailer that's up off the ground that was good and cool under there, and she liked to go over there in the summertime, and the neighbor said, she ain't bothered nothing, and she'd sleep on that trailer during the day when it was good and cool, and she died in her sleep under their trailer.
How about that? Well, God bless her. That's a way for a good one to go. You know what?
Oh, yes. She had many hard miles on her.
Oh, I imagine. Well, I tell you what, folks, it's very sobering when you look. If you knew Mike Harrell here, he was this slim, trim, Southern Illinois farm boy, as you say, and looked like he was in the best of health and best of condition, and it just just never know, do you?
Yep,
just never know.
That's a fact.
Well, Trey, I keep wanting to get into that, and then I keep thinking of something else with your dad. But the last dog that I've hunted with several of your dogs now, but I hunted with that trip female.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about her a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, she come from Matt Wagner, right up the road here from us. He's not much of a coon hunter no more, but still a good friend of ours. I don't really know the full details. I mean, I know my dad bought her from him. We'd go hunting with him, and he didn't want to sell. I didn't want to sell. And then he'd say, well, I need to sell. Y'all would do more for than I'm going to. And one thing led to another, and we finally was able to get that done.
Yeah, she was nice. I hunted with her. I think it was there. Was that down at Phillips?
Yeah, it was down at Phillips.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
And I liked the way she moved around, and she was a loner and a good tree dog, and yeah, she was for sure.
Good mouth, good honest strike dog. She was really nice.
Well, as a lot of people do, I hunted plot dogs, and I used to tell people I was hunting under government grant like old Dr. Jaycox was years ago. They were about to go extinct, and the government was putting up money if I'd keep hunting them, keep them from going extinct. But anyway, I eventually got a Walker dog and had a little female out of Silver Dollar Stone, a Mill Creek Molly. I got her that January after they made a big splash. Molly won her second truck, and Stone had won the World Hunt and all that. And I enjoyed her a lot, and then didn't have any. Went back to the plots, and then picked up a Walker dog or two here in the last 2 or 3 years, and the jury's still out on all that. But anyway, you guys kind of switched over a little bit here. As of late.
Yeah, I bought a really nice dog from Randy Smith that you know about. You was there when I bought him.
I was.
And Mew, and he was really a good one, but he just didn't adapt to our country.
Yeah.
Over at Randy's, he was really, really great. But in beaver ponds and stuff around here, he was really good. But that big creek we hunt on, he never was at home. And
he didn't like them pine thickets and cutovers.
Cutovers and pine thickets.
Now you hunt the golf course down there now.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. If we would have had as good a hunting as Randy Smith's got, he would have never left my house.
Yeah,
because in them thick coons, he could really look good.
Well, I have to make a distinction here for these listeners that they hear me talking about Randy Smith. Well, that's the Walker man, the Lone Pine guy in Pennsylvania. But the other Randy Smith is he may not be as famous as the one in Pennsylvania, but I don't believe there's a harder coon hunter anywhere, or a better dog man, or a better trainer of
no,
coon
he's as good a man and dog man and trainer and all the above.
Absolutely. Good man, good dog man, good trainer. And,
woodsman.
Absolutely. Randy is a great story. A few years ago, he had cancer, and people were worried about him, but he's tough, man. He is tough. And it comes up. Huh?
He beat it.
He did, for sure, and thank goodness he did. I enjoy, my listeners know, and, we go to the White River every year, Nubbin and I started going with him, and when Mr. Fred Sanders was there, and Frog Hayes, and Kenneth, don't let me forget Kenneth's last name.
I knew Kenneth real well. He was a great guy. I can't remember his last name.
Oh, man, why is that not coming to me right now? It'll come in just a second, fellas. Just hang on. But anyway, I just started hunting over there, and then first thing you know, here come Randy Smith along and brought along Morris Hardy with him, and Morris is such a great, great guy, and enjoy that. And then you and Trey joined us the last 2 or 3 years, and we just have
Glad y'all invited us to come over, because that's a great group of guys over there.
Oh, boy, we do have a good time. Keith Durkee, forget our resident Yankee,
No, sir.
And what good times
we're going to have one outcast.
Durkee's a great guy. Clint Chase and I mentioned him here on the podcast last week, but...
he's had some good dogs too.
Yeah, for sure. And well, that's coon hunting, and that's what makes it so great for me, and that's where my pleasure is in this sport of the people I meet. And all right, let's talk about these Walker dogs. We're going to have to get into that. We've postponed it as long as we can. So
I'll let Trey handle that.
Trey is very active on Facebook.
Oh, yes.
And Trey has gotten kind of a reputation of being hard to please.
Yeah.
Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, they say the same thing around work, so I guess it's true.
And you are working in the family business too, aren't you, Trey?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, listen, I know the answer to this probably, but why'd you decide to get into these Walker dogs?
I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like the black and tan breed as a whole, and everybody will pretty much agree, just falling off. Not what it used to be, and just couldn't find the dog that suited us that we liked. And I just finally said, "Hey, look, I coonhound. I don't care what it looks like. I just want to go tree coons and like hunting. And if it, the color don't matter to me. It used to, and I would like to have a good black dog. Just like my dad would, but at the same time, I want something I like to hunt. I feel like can compete or ought to be able to."
Well, I'd add something to that. If Mike Harrell were still alive, we'd probably still have a good black dog.
Yeah, well, that makes all the difference in the world. Somebody that's just, of course, Mike lives in a great, or did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cherish his memory, but he lived in a great place there. I couldn't believe it when I first came home from the military in 1973, and my dad had a pretty nice young plot dog that I hunted at plot days, and we saw 26 coons in 3 nights hunting there out of Florida.
Wow.
And I thought, my land, that's a lot of coons, Of course, I didn't have first under every one of them. But yeah, and that sure makes a big difference. Well, what I enjoy about you guys is there's a little bit of competition between father and son.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's always got his favorite. I always got my favorite.
Yeah, and I read the posts and all. I don't try to bother you too much, Jamie, because I know how busy you are. So our conversations are usually pretty short, but always enjoyed. And
yes, sir.
You'll say something about Trey's dog, or Buster did this, and Wall Street did that, or whatever. What was the other one you had before Wall Street, Trey?
Boomer, I guess.
Yeah. Boomer and Buster are the ones that you had at White River last year.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of funny. I can take my licks, At one time when they decided to get out of there, we was hunting over around Kansas Lake, and they decided to go to Holly Grove or somewhere, Lawrenceville or somewhere over there on the highway, and we had to go around and get them and all. And Jamie, you said something about old Buster being treed. That plot pup of mine was in there on a tree. I think Mark went and got him, but you said old Buster been treed there for a long time. But that rascal will go, won't he?
Oh, yeah, he's got a little too much go. I believe if you could hunt him 8 nights a week, he'd be a lot better, as far as not as much go. But, working man can't wear him down.
Well, now, he's a wipeout bred dog, isn't he? Or is he?
No, he's not a hillbilly knot.
Oh,
and a
okay.
female called, I think it's Layton's Quick Trip, I believe.
Okay. All right.
I'm not sure how she's bred. I don't remember that, but I know he's at a hillbilly knot and Layton's Quick Trip.
How old is he now?
He's 4. He turned 4 in April, I believe.
I got you. He's the dog when a couple years ago, Nubbin and I took a hunt with you boys. Was it the night before Autumn Oaks or night before White River, or what was it? We went over there and you just got him, I think.
Maybe
we got him in the early spring or early summer when he was a 2-year-old.
Okay. All right. That might have been when we were going to Autumn Oaks, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
Tell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Trey, what about this new dog you got, Wall Street?
Yeah, he came from a friend of mine, Cress Hardiman over there in Georgia. Everybody calls him Tootsie.
Everybody knows Cress about his Jed dog and
he's
Jeb,
a great friend of mine.
Produced the Josie Wales dog and several more good ones. Yeah.
I actually I've become friends with him through my buddies Spencer Anderson and Travis Carlock. We all kind of talk weekly now and stuff. I consider them my good friends. And I don't know, I bought the Marv dog from Tootsie, a few years back, and ended up selling him to Heather Island. I think they still got him. And then they was just hunting the Marv dog some, but it's kind of an older dog and wanting out of their stuff. But
That's the one that do a Murphy hunt to some, right?
Yes.
Marv dog, yeah.
Yeah.
But so we got, I kind of got to asking about Wall Street because they wasn't really hunting him in very many hunts. It seemed like anytime anybody took him, he won. May not win the whole thing, but he'd get the money. And they when he was down here, Tootsie had him in Georgia hunting him, and he done a lot of winning. I said, well, if he can win over in them swamps, he can do good around here, because he come from Indiana. A lot of times that transition's tough on a dog.
Yep.
And my friend Travis Clarlock, they had him up in Illinois, and he liked the dog a lot. And he told me 2 or 3 different times, hey, we're not really hunting him much. We got these nice young dogs at a jab, and he's on the back burner, and Tootsie said he may sell. Well, I called Tootsie. How, I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to do that or not. No, I won't price him. Well, this probably rocked on for 2 or 3 months, and be asking him every week or two. Because, if I get on to something I want, that's what I'm going to do, at least until I get a price,
Mm-hmm.
Either buy it or run me off one. And, it 2 or 3 weeks, Mike Travis would tell me the same thing. And I'd say, every time I call him, he tells me now that ain't right. Well, he told me that one day. So I called Tootsie back, and we talked and talked. And I don't really want to sell him, and don't really want to sell him. And one thing led to another, and I finally said, well, yeah, I'm going to keep calling till you tell me you're going to sell. I said, because Travis is telling me one thing, you're telling me another. And, we finally just come to an agreement on it.
Yeah, well, good for you. Now, is he out of Jeb?
No, he's not a big money. I don't know what female.
Okay. And what female?
I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, he's related to Jeb somehow. I think maybe his mom might be related to him or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I probably shouldn't
he's
get
related
in.
to Jeb, but I don't know exactly.
Right. Yeah, I'm not as up to date on those pedigrees as I should be. Mm-hmm. But well, that's great.
But that's the only reason I was able to get him. I believe if he would have been out of Jeb, I don't think I would have ever been able to get him.
Right. Well, what's the old man here? How old are you, Jamie?
59.
Oh my goodness! I got you by nearly 20 years. No, what are you thinking about all this Walker stuff? I mean, you just rolling with it, or are you still looking for a black dog, or what are you thinking?
I'm still looking for a black dog.
Mm-hmm. I got you. Well, it's funny how these dogs would kind of get next to us, It's kind of what you start out with, I guess.
Oh, yes.
And that's the way it was with me with these old plot dogs, but I didn't have any choice. That's what my dad kept. If I wanted to hunt, that's what there was to hunt right there, So, and I was lucky enough to be able to have some dogs that in the plot breed that were cold-nosed and were locating tree dogs,
Yes,
and because a lot of them had been bred strictly for big game and hunting off of baits and things like that, But so anyway, yeah, they get close to us, and it seems like the first one that we had is the one we tend to like to stick with. But
oh yes.
Well, what are you thinking about the competition game today? I mean, what's your general thoughts on the way things are going? Are you happy with the way these new organizations, Pro Sport, for instance, and we got PKC kind of getting in the groove with these bigger hunts, $100,000 hunts, and all this stuff? What's all that feel like to you guys?
I really like it, but I'm not so crazy about the style of the dog, even though Buster's that style, wild and crazy and hunts too hard and, won't honor another dog and stuff like that. But Pro Sport has put on a lot of good truck hunts and, other hunts and stuff. But the no leash lock rule, that rule's an old man like myself, fatting out of shape out, and it just won't work very well in our country. And I could see in some countries where it works great, but in our country that just don't work very well.
Well, you hear guys talk about how much they like that because everybody goes to every tree, and they like that
I like
feature
that. I
of
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, I love
But
that.
I'm with you.
But now
It
you can
would
walk yourself to death.
exactly. When I was with UKC and made the transition to PKC, that was in about 1998. And I started going to some PKC hunts in Michigan. And I still live there. When I went to work for PKC, Larry Meeks let me stay in Michigan, so I didn't have to move my family and all that. And I began to see the emergence of this dog that we have today. And I wish I could think of this dog's name, but there was one over around Reading, Onstead Way. It seemed like I want to say the dog's name was Rip or Rowdy or something like that. But he was one of these, that was never with another dog. And you just turned him around at the tree, his butt sticking right against the tree, and just aim him whichever way you wanted him to go, and he shot out there like a cannon. Well, that sucker about walked me to death one night. And I could see that kind of, and now I hear you guys and I watch the videos and all, I've kind of made a comment in the past that those videos can get kind of boring because all you're watching is somebody's backside walking,
Yep.
walk all night long. It's a great exercise plan, I guess, but it's not for an old man like me. That's for sure.
Me either. It's about to leave me by the wayside too.
Well, it's a sobering thought, Jamie, when you get to that position that you realize, as I have, that I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, well, he's gonna get back in shape. He's got a few hunts to hit with Buster for long. I'm mapping him some out.
You gonna put him on a program, Trey?
Yeah, I'm gonna put him on the road. I'm mapping some out.
I saw Jamie jogging down the road there. Trey was on the side by side.
Yeah, had the shot collar out.
But that is a sobering thing for a hunter that's hunted all their life, like I have, but that's just all part of the stage in life. And you're fortunate to have Trey there. You guys can be, and that's the way with some of these younger fellows that I'm kind of buddying with now, the boy in Virginia, Keston, and Mark over in North Carolina and all, and I get to stay involved in the sport, with my name on a dog and that sort of thing. But, yeah, well, what's the plans for the future? You got any big hunts coming up that you're going to be making here coming up soon?
To be honest with you, I just don't really care about traveling no hunts when it's real hot.
Right.
Work's kind of busy and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm probably just going to wait till the weather starts breaking, maybe early fall or so. I mean, I ain't going to say we'll hit another one, but that's the plan before I start hitting anymore.
Yeah.
All my buddies kind of on me about, man, he got all this money in these dogs and this pleasure dogs and stuff. I said, hey, when the time's right, I'll go. Y'all don't worry about that.
And the dogs are going to be just fine. You may have to get them a little bit in.
But not as much as I like to, or it's just tough down here at work, and it ain't, struggling tree coons, and don't get dark at 9 o'clock, get home at 11 or 12, back up at 6. It gets kind of old.
Well, when I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, I learned right then that I didn't want to be a summer hunter anymore. I hunted in the summertime all summer through in Michigan, and it's hot up there, and there's a lot of bugs and all. But I just got to the point that intense heat and that 85 degrees at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night is not for me. And I don't even try to do it anymore. I really don't, but I saw where Mr. Wimp Aaron over in Mississippi there is 90 years old now.
Yes,
and
sir.
he's still coon hunting.
Yes, sir.
Still coon hunting. That amazes me. And it inspires me to want to do more and do, because it's a young man's game, though, Trey. I mean,
I agree. I mean, I get gutted, too, out there on them hunts,
Well, you'd have to. I mean, tell me a
I get the
coon
dragon.
hunter's not an athlete, huh?
Yep.
No doubt.
He can do it all, man. He walks those balance beams, sometimes crossing a log over a creek, climbs fences, ends up upside down. I've been into some messes, man, coon hunting.
Oh, yes. Yep, I have too,
Haven't
for
we
sure.
all?
Yes, sir.
Well, fellas, I tell you, I guess we pretty well shined this tree. We've been at it about an hour and 4 minutes here. It's been a great visit. What do we need to talk about that we didn't talk about, Jamie?
Just the love of coon hunting and all the friends, we've met through it, and lifelong friends. I mean, I don't know. Those are some of my best friends in life. Some of the folks that live out of state and all, and you only see a couple of times a year. You talk to them fairly regular and all, and just a sorority like.
Yep. Fraternity, a sorority, whatever you want to call it. It's a fellowship of people of like minds. I don't know. It's whether we know that we're kind of on the bottom rung of the ladder when it comes to hunting sports, deer hunting and turkey hunting and all that are a lot more glamorous than duck hunting. But I don't think those guys could possibly have as much fun as we do out there in the dark, and especially when you can drop in Birmingham and a fellow call you up and say, "Come on over, I'm going to buy you dinner, and then I'm going to take you coon hunting." And I've been privileged to enjoy your hospitality over the years, Jamie, and you and Trey both, and I really want to publicly say I appreciate that very much. And
yes, sir. We've had several invites to come to Florida. We just hadn't made it yet.
Well, you need to do it. You need to do it.
Yep.
But I would not recommend July, August, or September.
No.
It's too hot down here right now, man. You go outside, I've said it many times, it's like sticking your head in the oven to check on the pizza. That's what it feels like.
Oh, yes.
When you open the door. Well, so you guys, I want to touch on this just real quick before we go. You're not real big into fooling with pups, are you?
No, sir.
No.
I just don't have the patience. Trey don't have the patience.
I sure don't. I like to sell stuff. If I don't like it, it's gone.
I swore off.
Reputation.
Now, what if your daddy had done you that way, Trey? Now, come on.
He'd have made a big mistake.
Oh, yeah. I swore
No
off
doubt.
pups years ago.
No doubt. Well, I know that it's not raising puppies is not for everybody,
Oh, no.
So I guess that's why the price of good young dogs has gotten so high.
Yep, I wish I had the knack for it, but I don't.
Yeah. Well, I always enjoyed training pups. In fact, I guess I'd have had a lot better dogs if I'd let somebody else train them. But I always did enjoy that. I just hunt whatever we bred, pick one out of the litter, and try to make something out of it. But
yes, sir.
But when your expectations are not real high, you can be sad. You can be satisfied with a lot less sometimes. Well, listen, I sure hope there's another Annie in your future, Jamie, because I know you love the black dogs. And Trey, I'm looking for you. I know you've been in Final Fours and stuff. I'm looking for you to win a big one. I know you will.
I hope so. We haven't been able to seal the deal lately, but we tried.
Well, you're knocking on the door, so it's just a matter of time. That was Mickey Mouse telling us it's time to get off here. That's my Apple Watch.
I thought that was your coon dog.
Now he's running around here in the house. Ella's dachshund Louie. He's running around. He's a black and tan, Jamie. He's black and tan.
I thought that might have been old fever.
Yeah, well, old Fever's come on with a little better mouth than he had back last year. He's yeah.
I've been keeping up with him. Sounds like he's doing good.
Fever's doing pretty good. He needs Well, he needs a few wins to be grand. He's got 2, and he's got
You need
about
some age on him.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it. He's got right at he's knocking on the door. Needs, I think, $35 to be a PKC champion now, and so hopefully we can get. Old Mark is a smart handler, though. He really is. He thinks about things. He's much more of a analyst. Like he analyzes situations, and I'll tell him a little bit. He told me last night he's on the way to a hunt, and a little bit. He texted me back and said, well, on the way back home. I said, well, boy, that was quick. What happened? He said, well, when you got the other 3 guys is all riding in the pickup truck, you don't have too much chance on an open event cast like that.
Yes.
He said, I just thought I'd save us $35. So I don't know. No names are disclosed here to protect the innocent. Or not.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, he's a good partner for me, and
he's a good guy.
He is.
I've enjoyed meeting him out there in Arkansas. I don't know if he liked Arkansas mud.
No, he did.
I like his company.
He told Nubbin, I think one night, he said, I can't wait to get back home out of this mud. He said, I'm tired of wallowing around in this mud. He said,
Yeah, I knew he
He
didn't like
ain't
it.
never seen no mud like California.
He's a mountain boy.
Yeah, we can.
Mud over the mountains.
That's right. Well, I'm gonna probably bring another one out. He'll hang with us. I tell you, this Keston Jesse from Southwest Virginia.
Yes, sir.
He's a good boy, our kind of folks. I want y'all to meet him. So
Sounds great.
Hey, one Arkansas tale about Mark. While we're on that subject.
Yeah.
You know what? Whenever we had all went that one night together, me, you, Mark, Nubbins, we all went.
I'm getting a little bit of feedback on the phone. Have
Can
you
you hear me now?
moved, Trey?
For a second, but I'm back where I was at now.
Okay, let's try that again.
One night, me and you and Mark and Nubbin, we all went together.
Yeah, that's we're having trouble with that. Can you just go pick up your dad's phone maybe and see if that's the problem?
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, that one night that out there in Arkansas this past winter that me, you, and Mark and Nubbin went, Dog's treat out there. I think it was later on in the hunt, and I was kind of gassed, so me and Mark said, we'll go get him.
Yeah.
Everybody that's been around Mr. Moore the last few years, they know he totes a walking stick with him, a wooden walking stick.
Yep.
Always got it with him. We're walking to the dogs. We ain't left the side by side long, and the dog starts barking in the box. Well, just out of nowhere, the god awful racket you ever heard in your life. That was back at the side by side, and Mark, whoa, what was that? I said, that was just Nubbin hitting the top of that dog box. I've heard him do it 100 times.
He just making the dog to be quiet in the box.
I said, I've heard that 100 times. Don't worry about that.
He thought Bigfoot was after him, probably out there.
He didn't know what that was, and I never missed a beat.
Oh boy, we had a good time out there. That's for sure. We always do.
I'm looking forward to it again.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, me too. Somebody asked me about that long drive and all. I said, well, I split it up. I always come by and stay with Nubbin and Becky one night, and then we drive out the next day, and that kind of breaks it up for me. But it's worth it if I had to drive it all the way.
It's honestly a week of fun. Every day.
Absolutely, and we eat pretty good too, don't we?
Oh, yes. Wonderful.
Well, fellas, it's been great to visit with you, and I know you're both very busy, and it's going to be getting dark. Are you going tonight?
Yeah, I believe we are. It's doing a little rain in here, but I think it'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, that's good, and I'll be watching for you on Facebook and in the funny papers, as they say. And we don't have any magazines anymore. Well, you still got Pronoun.
No. Yeah,
ain't much left of it, but it's still coming.
Yeah. So times they are changing, but we're going to keep on doing this as long as we can, I guess, aren't we?
Yes, sir. That's all we know.
That's right. Well, folks, I'm going to have to wrap this up for this episode. We've been talking with Jamie Perrin of Birmingham, Alabama, and his son Trey Perrin. They are coon hunters, I guarantee you. We've enjoyed the visit with them, and I'm proud to call each of these guys my friends. And we hope to have more of these type of conversations on Gone to the Dogs as we go along, because to me that's what the sport's all about. If anybody asks you where's Fielder hanging out these days, tell him he's down there around Birmingham with those Perrin boys. They've gone to the dogs.
Yes, sir.